In the 1960s, a woman's most private moment was a public affair. In labs just like this one, rows of test tubes held the secret answers. But one woman, a graphic designer with no scientific background, looked through this glass and saw a different future. A future of privacy, control, and choice. They said women were too stupid and emotional to handle this knowledge themselves. She proved the entire world wrong. Before her, the world was a very different place. Imagine being a woman in the 1960s. Suspecting you might be pregnant meant a trip to the doctor's office, a long, anxious wait. If you were unmarried, it meant shame, judgment, the possibility of losing your job, your home, your entire future. A simple biological fact could become a source of profound desperation. There was no privacy, only fear. Women would wear fake wedding rings to their appointments, anything to avoid the inevitable questions and the condescending stares. The power to know was held by others, and that power was used to control. But then came Margaret Crane. In 1967, she was a 27-year-old graphic designer working for a pharmaceutical company called Organon. She wasn't a scientist. Her job was designing packaging for cosmetics and lipsticks. Every day, she walked past the company's pregnancy testing lab. She saw the endless racks of test tubes, each one representing a woman waiting for an answer that would change her life. One day, she stopped. She looked at the simple, almost ritualistic process happening inside. A drop of this, a drop of that, a reflection in a mirror at the bottom of the rack. And a simple, powerful question bloomed in her mind. Why does a doctor have to be in the middle of this? Why can't a woman do this for herself in the privacy of her own home? The idea was electrifying. She went back to her desk, her mind racing. She wasn't thinking about revolution. She was thinking about design, about simplicity. She picked up an ordinary plastic paperclip holder, a clear box with a stand inside. She imagined a small dropper, a test tube, and a mirrored base. It was a kit, a complete, self-contained, easy-to-use kit. It was the world's first home pregnancy test. She held the prototype in her hands and smiled. She had no idea the storm she was about to unleash. She eagerly presented her prototype to the executives at Organon. The reaction was not what she expected. The room, filled with older men in suits, erupted in laughter. Their objections were swift and dismissive. They told her women were too dumb to do this at home, that they would become hysterical if they saw the results by themselves. One executive even declared the idea immoral, suggesting it would encourage promiscuity. And then came the real fear, the one that truly mattered to them. We'll lose millions. Doctors won't send tests to our lab anymore if women can do it themselves. Her idea wasn't just dismissed, it was ridiculed. They saw her not as an innovator, but as a naive girl who didn't understand the world. Margaret was crushed, but that rejection lit a fire in her. She knew she was right. A few weeks later, the company held a meeting to decide on the final packaging design for the home test kit, an idea they were now cautiously pursuing, but without her. The marketing department had commissioned designs from a prestigious all-male firm in New York. Margaret heard about the meeting and knew she had one last shot. She wasn't invited, but she went anyway. She walked into that conference room and saw the competing designs laid out on the table. They were absurd. Pink boxes covered in frilly ribbons, patterns of delicate flowers, designs that looked more like perfume packaging. They were patronizing, treating a serious medical device like a feminine trifle. Quietly, but with unshakable confidence, Margaret placed her prototype among them. It was a simple, clear plastic box. It looked clean, serious, and medical. It looked like a tool, not a toy. The contrast was stunning. Her design was undeniably superior. In a moment of pure triumph, the visiting executive from the parent company in Holland pointed to her prototype and said, "This is the one." She had won. But her victory came at a great cost. The company's lawyers drew up the patent documents. They named her, and only her, as the inventor. But then they handed her a contract. She signed away all her rights to the invention for the symbolic sum of $1. She never even got the dollar. She would not receive a single cent in royalties. Decades later, she would reflect on that moment. I was young and naive, but so happy they accepted it. She believed in the idea more than she believed in the money. She just wanted women to have it. In 1971, the predictor test finally hit pharmacy shelves in the United States. It was a quiet revolution. Advertisements and magazines like Vogue called it a little personal revolution. And it was. For the first time, women could walk into a store, buy a box, and get an answer in the privacy of their own bathroom in just 2 hours. It was a moment of profound empowerment. The knowledge and the power that came with it was finally in their hands. The predictor gave them time to think, time to plan, time to make their own choices about their bodies and their lives. The home pregnancy test became a fundamental tool for women's liberation, a symbol of autonomy that we now take for granted. But the world moved on, and Margaret Crane's name was lost to history. For nearly 50 years, her contribution was completely forgotten. The company that profited from her invention never spoke her name. History books credited the male doctors who developed the lab test, but never the woman who put that test into the hands of millions. Then in 2012, a New York Times historian wrote an article asking, "Who invented the home pregnancy test?" Margaret's name was nowhere in it. Reading that article, now an elderly woman, she knew she had to speak up. She contacted the newspaper, and finally, the truth came out. Today, Margaret Crane's original handmade prototype sits in the Smithsonian National Museum of American History, a testament to her quiet genius. It's a reminder that sometimes the biggest revolutions start with the simplest questions. Margaret Crane never earned a penny from her invention, but she gave millions of women something far more valuable: freedom, privacy, and control. Remember her name. She changed the world and was forgotten for 50 years. Never again. Thanks for watching. If you want to hear more untold stories of women who changed history, make sure to like and subscribe.